Hello, Bill Molyneux here for Bill's Wargame World. And what are we working on? Well, it's Wednesday, February 7th, and I'm in the basement. Um, Now, this is the deal. The tiles. I had a lot of people said glue them on, use magnets, keep them loose. Um, this is what I've decided. Um, I have 3 tubs of just Confederates alone, and another 4 tubs of Yankees, Union Federal troops, and I have decided that we are going to glue them to these bases and then flock them all. And as I've gotten older, I'll be honest, there's been times I've wanted to set up a Civil War game, and I just don't want to have to dig out 300 or 400 Confederates and Union soldiers. Um, so, doing the skirmish games with the Raven Feast Vikings is one thing, but for me, trying to do a Civil War game and with the new rules that I might be using a bit with not just brother against brother, but the new uh, other rules from Osprey. I'm going to try this, and so that's what we're up to. We're using E E6000. We're gluing the figures to these bases. Again, Chris Palmer gave me some of these. These are Atlantic Aerofix Marks BMC figures in 54 millimeter. Many were painted by the great Jim Shaw of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So, what I thought I'd do is, for those of you with nothing to do, and you're working in your own basement on stuff, I'm going to just chit chat a little bit about what I'm doing the 10th of February. All right. Well, now I have a Field of Lost Shoes on, and we have one heck of a lot of plastic figures to glue to these bases. The artillery figures I'm not gluing, and so it looks like right here is a good place to start. And this is the deal. We're going to take a handful of figures out, and now I'm going to just say this once on historical flags. They are meant only for historical wargaming purposes only, and nothing more. And there's nothing else to be said about that. So we are gluing figures, and what's neat is the different figures I have. If you'll remember the good old Marx figures. This is a Marx figure painted superiorly by the great Jim Shaw, and I'm very fortunate to have Jim to help paint. Also, we have some figures by Jack Brendel for the artillery crew. And the artillery figures I'm setting off to the side because those will not be based. We will keep them separate. And I apologize on the Osprey rules set, the new Arthur Vanderstar Star rules. Oh my goodness, the second time it's happened. Anyhow, I got them both printed and in my iPad. And let's see. I can't do this again. I'm doing all this work on these figures. So let me look them up. So, quite amazing. Do you ever forget things out there in the world? I'm quite amazed that all right, everyone. There we are. Arthur van der Stur, and with hot lead and cold steel, and I'm working on these figures to be based for this, and also my tried and true brother against brother. Okay, so we'll get back to work here. And so this weekend, I'm going to, with the Chuckleheads, Walt and Kevin and I, and Derek's not going, and neither is a few of the other guys, just the three of us. But we are going to Braddock Battlefield History Center, and then we're going over to Soldiers and Sailors Museum. And the Soldiers and Sailors Museum is having a war game day. Braddock's Battlefield History Center, we have to go there to deliver them the money from the Goober calendar sales. So, Goober the Traveling Bear, and we're going to be doing that. And we got over $500. Not bad for an old fat guy like me and a stuffed bear that's over 40 years old to get people to help historic sites. So, I'm working on shirts for Goober the Traveling Bear next. But I think the whole concept with Goober is just for fun. And I know some people think it's really extra bizarre, but I have a lot of homeschool teachers and moms and dads that teach their kids at home. And what a better way to learn about history than a stuffed bear and visiting historic sites. And you gotta all admit, if you're watching this video, you're into history of some type, and they're not really teaching history like they used to in school. So, sort of have to, do a little bit on your own if you're teaching kids. And we've made videos at many historic sites. The CSS Noose, and for the shirt, by the way, that's coming out, it's called Goober's Scoots Barbecue History Tour. We picked 10 sites. It really comes out to a couple more than 10. But we have Dr. Best's House of Medicine and Museum, the Old Stone Fort in Schoharie, New York, the CSS Noose in Kinston Battlefield at Weiss Fork. What else do we have? We have Braddock's Battlefield History Center, Fort Ticonderoga, Fort Frederick, of course, and Old Fort Niagara. Now, if you're watching this and you're just wondering what the heck I'm doing, my wife isn't, she's resting, and I gotta be quiet in the house with the puppy dogs, so a lot of times I come into the basement so I don't disturb her while she's resting. So, and I'm putting my flag bearers to the front. I really think this is going to get me more motivated to use these troops too. what's there flocked. And I know even Kevin in the Chucklehead said, don't do this, and don't mount them on the bases so much. And but I sort of decided to do it this way. And once again, Chris Palmer gave me some really cool figures. So Chris, if you're watching this, thank you again. Chris is an expert in the Wars of Oz rule set, and he's a member of the Hawks Wargaming Group in Maryland. So we have this weekend Soldiers and Sailors Museum, and then we're going in Braddock Battlefield History Center. We're going to Fort Pitt. Fort Pitt has an incredible diorama, French Indian War diorama, and we will be we checked ahead of time, and we are allowed to video at Fort Pitt. So I'm going to be posting all 3 historic sites on both channels. The reason is all 3 of them are doing board and miniature war game stuff. The Fort Pitt's has their diorama, but the other 2 are actually having war game events. So, what's better than having a historic site that's actually allowing miniature war gamers to run games in the site? I mean, you gotta say that is pretty darn cool. So that's the plan for that. And let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'm supposed to be basing these 4 figures to a base with and then it's let's see here. I think it's 5 bases, 4, and so, and then we'll have the regiments. I'm thinking I'll be able to get, I don't know, maybe 15 regiments out of everything. I have a lot of figures to mount. And yes, this is all 54s. And let me see how our camera's looking. Oh. Wow. What are you working on your workbench? Because you know what I'm working on. And no idea who's really going to watch this all the way through. It's a rambling video. But, oh well. Now, next week, we are at the Williamsburg Muster. That is actually my favorite event. And every event is a favorite event. Hawks Barrage and Historicon, ScrumCon. But I do like the Muster the best. I'm going to take a moment here. These figures are metal. And, I mean, really neat, heavy metal. These are probably from the 50s or the 60s. And they're just really nice figures. And these came from Chris Palmer again. So, huge shout out to Chris. If you're wondering what so some are based and on cardboard, balsa wood. So I'm trimming that off so they'll fit on my tiles better. Oh, and putting the artillery figures off to the side. You know, we got quite a few figures now already lining up. It's very cool. And I think I can have all these done tonight and then flock them in the following week. I have to pack the French Foreign Legionnaire game, March or Die, because that's what Derek and I are going to be working on at the Williamsburg Muster Friday. We'll be playing Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Hope to see a lot of you there. And I will make videos. I don't know how many, but I'll make a few at least. So you can feel like you were at the convention also. Gotta check my camera angles. Alright. Wow. So the Field of Lost Shoes is what I have playing right now. Since I'm doing Civil War soldiers, I thought that would be appropriate. And I don't know. I think it's a pretty good movie for all things considered. I know I've had some people say it wasn't so good, and others said it was really good. So, but I think any historical movie is better than a lot of the other things that come out. And we gotta get some more figures up here. Gotta reach into the tubs. Boy, there's a lot of artillerymen. I got some nice figures from David Markle, I think it is pronounced his name correctly. And real nice fella. He got me a Whitworth last year. And it's seen action. I actually used it at Khartoum and a few other games too, just because it was so special. And also, you know, I've received a lot of different figures over the last few years from people. Tanks. Recently got a couple tanks and some armored cars. But I always try to use everything that is gifted to me. And the most recent Panther and Tiger by Sheriff John's 92-year-old father, they were amazing. To be that old and to build them the way he did, just incredible. Even the decal work was perfect. I can never do decals good, even when I was young. So it was really an amazing gift. And of course, he is also the one who gave me the German Nashorn that has seen a lot of battle action, and unfortunately, it's up until the last game, it always got blown up quite quickly. But the last Battle of the Bulge game, it did really well and had several kills. So, wow. All right, well, we'll stop the camera here for a minute while I get more troops. All right, welcome back. So, according to the way I set up the camera here, you should be able to see what I'm working on. So, who's going to Historicon? Yeah, I posted something on Facebook. I'm just going to say that, Joby is no longer the Historicon convention director. And, everyone has different opinions about things and the convention, but I personally thought Joby did a very good job as convention director. And I know he stepped down, but it's an awful lot of work. And personally, I'd like to say that last year I volunteered for 12 hours. But no one knows it because, believe it or not, I was in the back parking lot where they park the tractor trailers and the vendor vehicles. So I was there all day, and Joby had a lot to do. He was the head guy there, and I gotta say, he came out to check on me twice, and he had to go across the street and everything just to get to me and leave the convention center. And I really think it was very nice of him to leave the convention, come check on me. It was very hot. It was, July. And he brought me water. And, not everyone would remember that, there's some old wargamer out there in the parking lot all day long. And I just think he deserves some kudos for that. So hopefully the next or new convention director will do well and so forth. So I'm really looking forward to our trip this weekend. So, I get a lot of people ask me about Goober the Traveling Bear and why I have him and why we're doing what I do, trying to promote history. And, it's just in fun. Goober's nearly 40 years old. My first wife got him. She's passed away a few years ago. But, so, just gotta laugh. Goober has a following, and kids love to see what adventures he's going and where he's at. And if it gets someone to watch a history video, all the better. Right? So, these tiles aren't very expensive, by the way. They're purchased at Amazon. And right now, I feel like I'm going to have more Confederate. I think I made these at units of 10 figures to a regiment in the original system. So I will have, I will have way too many battle flags, I believe, when all said and done, but we'll see. And hopefully it won't be too far off. But it won't take me long to flock all these. And now some of you have heard that I got a second home, and my wife always wanted to live on the water. And if you watch my channel much or anything else, my wife has had several health issues. She's like a 3-time cancer survivor, but her last house scare was, we just decided to, life is short, as I always say, and we took a big leap of faith. So we actually don't live, our second home that we're slowly going to transition to is not very far from Scoot's Barbecue, Goober the Traveling Bear's favorite restaurant. It's pretty funny, huh? Now this figure here, very nicely painted by Chris Palmer, I presume. So, how are the units looking here? Well, I think once they're flocked, they're going to look pretty darn good. And I've talked about this before, but I'm not going to run a game at Historicon. Nope. Last year at Historicon, I had some issues with my wife. Actually, it got to be pretty serious. I had to hurry home. I had Shelby and her husband, Steve, and Fort William Henry, and one heck of a huge war game going on. And I had to bail Saturday afternoon, evening, frantically get home, go to the hospital. So I don't want to risk doing that again, where, you know, I advertise a game and then I have to leave or something and people get upset. And, you know, people do come from all over the country. They register for games. And, you know, life happens, but you also have to be respectful to the wargamers. And that's why I'm just not going to run a game. So I'm going to help Jim Purdy out with his Super Mega Pickett's Charge game, which I don't know if you've seen his trailers, but they are phenomenal. So he will be I've created a huge mess here. There. So I don't know what you can see. Alright. So Jim Purdy's 54mm game is incredible. Pickett's Charge, couple thousand figures. It will be epic, just epic. Now I'm going to do a Pickett's Charge at some point here. So, trying to decide what wargaming figures to take to the second home and have down there. I have a 36-foot boathouse, and now there's a chance of it having water coming in it if we have a flood, because I'm 60 feet from the Chesapeake Bay. But my plan will be to put I think 5 foot wide. I'll probably go 5 foot by 24 foot tables. Use some 8-footers. I'm getting where I don't like reaching across a 6-foot wide table all the time. How about you? Sometimes it's nice to just have a 5-foot wide table, but especially if you have a lot of hills, it causes extra depth for reach. Now, I gotta say, I wasn't 100% sure about this, but I mean, it's really coming out quite nice. I'm really liking this idea. Now, someone asked me, by the way, how many 54mm figures do I have? Well, there was a time I had a lot of figures. I gave a lot of stuff away. I got sick, and it wasn't super serious after all, like they said it was. So when I rebuilt my wargame armies, I said I'm going to do 54mm. So I have huge amounts of Rev War, French Indian War, and then American Civil War, Boer War, Boxer Rebellion, the Sudan. Oh, one heck of a lot of skeletons from that crazy skeleton and also Agincourt game I made. Oh. Boy. I don't know. I have to check the rule book that Arthur wrote. But I think my units are supposed to be five bases. I played around with his rules and went and changed the ratios by 30% for movement and firing, and then I changed it again. And I'm pretty happy with the little modification I did to make it work for 54s. So now I'm a huge fan of Brother Against Brother. So I really can still use these movement stands with Brother Against Brother with no real issue. I have casualty rings, and I'm really can't wait to wargame on the back deck again, and also with the Chuckleheads. I had some pretty big wargame parties here at one time, and then when my wife's health not so good, we haven't had anything here in a couple years now, of course. But I had some parties that had over 50 wargamers here, which got a little excessive, but we got through it. Oh, I don't know who's still watching this. I wouldn't be surprised that no one would be watching by this point, but oh well. It's now Jack Brendel from Tucson, Arizona. You know, he was in the Gettysburg area gamers for years, but he would come over on Saturdays, and we would work on our figures for the games. And Jack's been gone over a decade, but we used to get a lot of figures painted, and our group used to have hill and road making parties where all we would do is make roads and hills on certain weekends, and that was always a lot of fun. And the wives would come over and we would cook hot dogs. So the Confederate Army is coming along. It really is. Probably got 60 more figures to go. By the way, in the background are those Vikings. And I got the sticks, the stones, and the shrubbery. Shrubbery. I'm showing my age with Monty Python. Alright, I'm going to change our camera angle. Hold on, everybody. Okay, welcome back. For those of you that are still watching, and my just goofing around tonight, so, you know, the Chucklehead plan is Saturday morning, the 10th, I pick up Walt and Kevin at like 6 a.m. in Walt's secret location in Maryland. Then we drive almost 5 hours to Pittsburgh. And we hit Braddock Battlefield History Center. And then we're driving to the Soldiers and Sailors Museum. And by the way, the Soldiers and Sailors Museum, they're having pizza for us. Paul Larson and Kyle and several of the people there are running a miniature war game party there in the museum. So that's going to be very cool. And after that, we're heading over to Fort Pitt. And Fort Pitt, I have to say, they were phenomenal about us coming and videoing and all of that. So shout out to them at Fort Pitt. So really, they were really nice in the very cool how these are brigading out. Now, I will not be able to do the mass games of massive brigades. I can do sections of the battles, of course. I can produce, I have room on my back deck to go over 40 feet by 6 feet wide. We have a massive back deck. But I think if anything, I might look at doing a Pickett's Charge in the basement as time progresses. Alright, I gotta move the camera. There we go. And we're a little closer to the TV, so I gotta turn the volume down on that a little. So I guess this would form out into some brigades. Now let's see where we are for seeing stuff. And I'm going to run out of tiles. I think I'll have all the Confederates done. Oh. And so Ron Perlman, the Snyder Pretzel King, I've known him for a long time. I'm in the food business as a sales rep, and I've known Ron, and he used to war game Gettysburg. He lives down in Virginia. He's quite famous for his with Alamo games. He's a great war gamer. And I'm going to make a point of it to get to his house and war game with him here in the future. So he's a really, really nice fella. And if you've never played an Iran game, they are just awesome. He does some awesome Alamo games. I think it's David Goon, featured on Little Wars TV, and Ron made up the rules, and David modified them a little bit. So, boy, we're slowly getting to the end of the piles of figures. We got a Virginia flag here. Really appreciate these extra figures Chris Palmer gave me. And there we go. Got an awful lot of Confederate battle flags, that's for sure. And we are slowly running out of tiles. So when we get done with this, I'm going to go order a couple more packs from Amazon. And now, for those of you who think this is sacrilege with what I'm doing, well, It is. I think I'll actually use these more. That they'll be a lot easier to get out of the boxes and set up. And Walt Leach had his Rev War armies. Some were in bases and some weren't. And I liked how he had his. So I have quite a few regiments here. Even if I went to 4 bases a unit, I'd be doing pretty good. Oh. We need to have a batch of people over to help me flock all these bases. All right, we're gonna pause the camera for a moment. I'm gonna go check on our puppy dogs. Okay, well, welcome back, everyone. I had to check on some puppies, and they're not really puppies, but my wife calls them the puppies. They're really mutts. They're all rescues. So, and quite happy with my this brigading. So, who's played the with hot lead and cold steel rules? Anyone want to leave me a comment? I goofed around with a couple bases and stuff, and I was sort of happy with how easy they were to pick up. So I'm really looking forward to using them. And I think this particular rule set will work pretty good. Oh, so my goodness, we're coming to the end. We really are. I'm going to do a final shot of these units, I guess, and give you all a chance to see them. And believe it or not, the rest are artillery and flag bearers. So, what do we have? We have about 6 tiles left. And we'll pause the camera. Okay, everyone. Well, the Confederate Army is based. I got about 50 some odd bases. So, with 50 some odd bases going at 5 bases, a regiment, that gives me basically, I guess, about 10 or 12 regiments if I had some smaller ones at 3 or 4. And I'm quite happy with this. Once these are flocked, they're going to look pretty good. And of course, we're using the with hot lead and cold steel Arthur van der Stur's rules, and I'm going to order more of my tiles. And I got one heck of a lot of plastic tubs of federal troops to put together. And then we're going to hit up the Vikings. And sticks, stones, and little tufts of grass. So the Raven Feast guys will be done. And I think that's it for tonight. I'm going to go on Amazon and order some stuff. I wish anyone who watched this, thank you for just watching. And don't forget, everything I make off my YouTube channel, I'm donating. And all the way up till February 25th, it's going to the American Friends for Lafayette event. And then, big announcement, we are going to do a 3-month YouTube t-shirt board game extravaganza to help the Weiss Fork Battlefield Preservation in Kinston, North Carolina. We are going to try to help get them some money to help keep that highway from going through the middle of the battlefield. And I'm also making a Weiss Fork board game. And proceeds for that will go to Wade and Matthew and all of them, Keith, at the CSS Noose Museum and the Weiss Fork Museum. So, look for my videos coming out this weekend on Braddock's Battlefield History Center with Goober the Traveling Bear, Soldiers and Sailors Museum in Fort Pitt. That's it for now. Stay safe, be kind, be courteous, and thanks for watching this babbling video of fun.